everyone, it's Romania Black, and we are on the season 3 finale, for now, of Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's very bittersweet. I'm not happy about this, to be honest. I walked into this thinking 24 episodes. I walked in thinking that, and so finding out that we only have 12 is it's taken some adjustment. But I am Choso with you all today. I'm very excited because, one, this wig, if I did Choso back in season 2, but it was like a wig with ponytails, and I had like stylized it and everything, and it was very, very difficult to maintain, and I was like, what am I gonna do? And I found this Choso wig online when season 3 started, and I thought to myself, Choso's gonna be showing back up this season. I'll go ahead and order it. And then him and Yui, they've just been hanging out with Tengen this entire time. So, yep. So, Choso has not been back in this season. However, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and be Choso. It was either this or Gojo, and I almost chose Gojo, but I really liked how crazy this wig. It's giving, like, if Ryuk from Death Note was Mrs. Lovett from Sweeney Todd. It's a very Mrs. Lovett style of crazy, and I was like, I want to wear it. This is so much fun, and I really like it. It looks great on. I didn't know what to think about it. I need to stylize these more if I wear it again, but I'm having a blast wearing this wig, and it's very comfortable, so. And Choso's makeup is so much fun, so that's where we're at. But yeah, so we are on the final episode of season 3. I want to say core 1. I don't even know what they'll call the next core, if they'll just call it season 4. I don't know how that's going to work, or if it's going to be like an Attack on Titan season 3 part 2 sort of situation. The logistics get confusing, but I do want to say a couple things before we start talking about these comments. I am going to be, the moderator Be Happy got a hold of me and said, okay, the council on Discord has spoken. They have collaborated. If you are on my Patreon and you are on the Discord, you all are able to talk amongst yourselves about the shows. And me, I'm on the Discord a lot. But they had kind of communed in spoiler tags with themselves and then decided that I can watch the OP and ED. I can watch the OP after the episode, because apparently there are some shots in the OP. They know how observant I am and how much I'll be like, and they're like, you need to watch it after the episode and then pick it apart. So that's what I'm going to do. When we get to the discussion, whatever, if we're starting with the OP, that'll be the first thing I pick apart in the discussion. If it happens later, we'll pick it apart then, like frame by frame, go through it. So that's what we're doing. We're going to watch the episode without the OP, and then I'm going to go back and look at the episode with the OP. So someone will comment down below, why didn't you watch the OP? I know it's coming. But y'all have been pretty good about things, so maybe not. I still have this little bit of a lingering cough from being sick, but I'm going to try not to mess up this. If I mess up this, this is basically just eyeliner and then eyeshadow over it. So I have some black eyeshadow for when I want to cosplay goth. So I'm going to try not to mess this up, but then it'll look cool because it'll look like how Choso is in the actual show. I do have comments from y'all that I want to talk about, and there are quite a few with episode 11. So this may take a little bit, but it's our last comment section before we're on hiatus for half a year, which, you know what? I'm not going to complain about that because I waited 3 years to get to season 3. I'm okay with waiting half a year to get to the second core. I am fine with that. I am solid with that. I'm saucy with that. It's fine. I'm just, when you don't expect it and it happens, you're like, when I get you Gege, when I get you Mappa. That's kind of how I feel. But anyway, let's talk about the 3 comments that I have for episode 10. They're very short. Kaylin V 8150 for episode 10 says, Yuji and Megumi when they meet back up. Yuji, oh hey Fushi girl, how'd it go Megumi? Good job, I'll kiss you later. Let's get the F out of here because this whole place is filled with clowns. I like how Yuji had a very serious, heartwarming, stoic conversation with Higuruma, and Megumi has just had to deal with nonsense. In comparison, these 2 comments that are left for episode 10 are kind of related. Slads for episode 10 says, I mean, Megumi is still only 15 at this point. I feel old. So Chikaba calling him young makes sense. Yeah, I for some reason, I think of Yuji and Megumi as like 18. They are not. They are first years. So they are really 15. So yeah, somebody in their 30s like Chikaba and I, we probably would call him young. So, yeah, that does make sense. And then in that same vein, Daya in 1997 says, Megumi getting his first kill in what looks like a child's bedroom. I want to correct that. He doesn't get the first kill in the child's bedroom. He fights the guy, and then they exit the window, and he kills him on the actual roof. So there's a little correction there. Reminds us of how young he is, symbolizing his loss of innocence. That is an interesting tie-in. I have to give it to him, though. Despite how rough his words can be, Megumi is still kind at heart. He gives Remy several chances to leave, despite literally stabbing him in the back. And that's going to tie into someone else's comment about Remy and stabbing people in the back and him giving extra chances, but I thought that was a really good thing to bring up. Let me find the exact person. It was Michael Razar, 6104 for episode 11, said, I'm just now realizing that Naoya and Remy are perfect for each other. What a vision. What a crack ship. Not only is it another Zenin, so girl just went after the wrong Zenin. She went after the wrong Zenin. But yeah, Naoya always wants a woman that's behind him, letting him call all the shots, and she just does what he says and is protected by that power that he has. That's perfect. Naoya and Remy, that's perfect. That's honestly crazy how... And then the idea of Remy stabbing Megumi in the back, and then Naoya met his end by being stabbed in the back by a woman. Yes, it's all, the vision is there. I'm like, did Gege know this? Did Gege know we were going to talk about this? Sometimes I feel like Gege makes decisions and he's like, they're going to talk about this later. As an author would. Alexander Q for episode 11 says, it's crazy to see how much Megumi looks like Toji with his hair down. Of course, the physical resemblance is crazy and an important factor, but I don't think the resemblance in attitude, but I also do think the resemblance in attitude is also crazy. I think Megumi and Toji would have butted heads so much exactly because of that. I mean, we didn't get to see enough of that because Megumi versus Toji in season 2, there were so many other circumstances. We really didn't get to expand upon that. For the better, because Megumi was not ready to face Toji then. No. But I found that really funny because it reminds me of my brother and my father. They're very similar people, but because of that, they are awful to work together. When they're working on farm stuff together, they're like, because they're so similar and because they have the same stubbornness and the same ideas. But then if it tweaks a little bit off from one another, they're like, what do you mean you want to do it this way? So it's like, yeah, I thought that was really fun to point out. Masked in Magic, or Masked in Music. There we go. Masked in Music. Are you getting a master's in music? Congratulations if you are. It says for episode 11, the music that plays as Reggie bleeds out is the piece from a ballet known as The Dying Swan, which is a short ballet depicting a swan struggling against its imminent death. It's a performance meant to symbolize an individual struggling against their own mortality. All this time, we've been comparing Reggie to chickens. We've been comparing Reggie to geese, when in fact, we should have been comparing the elegant and gorgeous Reggie Star to a swan. I'm like, that's awesome. I love that. I love that that's what that piece is. Great job with that. They also said, I really love that Yuji wins his fight by admitting the truth. His truth, not the objective truth. And Megumi wins by telling a lie. Episode 5 did loads of contrasting as well. Megumi in the dark, Yuji in the light. But what I found interesting was the addition of Megumi going around obstacles because it's easier, and Yuji brute forcing through obstacles because it's more direct. We see this in the truth and lies here again. Yuji could have lied to make it easier, but chose not to instead. Megumi could have revealed that Demon Dogs was okay and get the benefit of its strength, but instead chose to save it for a bluff because that would get him the win more easily in the end. Gege knows what they're doing, and I am all about the contrast. I'm all about the contrast. I'm all about the poetry of it. Yes, please. So thank you for pointing that out. Ruben Armstrong, 262, says, Sukuna doesn't care about Yuji. Remember, he is a prison for Sukuna. Sukuna has never in the series intentionally or technically saved Yuji. He hates him. This isn't Naruto. That cracked me up so much. I was like, man, well, you know, I do remember enough from Naruto when I was reading it in a medicated haze that, yes, I do realize that, yes, Sukuna and Yuji is not Naruto and his inner fox demon. But in that same vein, it is worth noting that this season, Sukuna has been very noticeably, like Gojo, absent but mentioned, and I'm very, in my mind, as a writer and as an English teacher, in my mind, that is all foreshadowing for Gojo and Sukuna coming up in the second part. I mean, it would make the most sense, right? But again, it also lends to my theory that Sukuna is interested in Megumi because Megumi might have a little bit of more of the attitude and mindset that Sukuna wants, whereas he's like stuck inside Care Bear prison with Yuji. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see where that goes, right? But thank you for the comment. Linus Peterson, as well as Soul Holders, said, Miwa is not the only one capable of a simple domain. We've seen multiple people doing it. Mekamaru, Ui Ui, and Toto did it in Season 2 and Kusakabe. Yes, in that episode 11, I was just pointing out that Miwa was kind of the originator of the simple domain. When we had the sister event, she was the first one that we found out about it from. But, as I mentioned in the discussion, there are multiple people that can do it, and thank you for clarifying which of those people it is. Soul Holders also adds, saying, I think that you're remembering how the new Shadow style Simpo domain is only taught to a certain people by a school. Thank you. Yes, I do remember that being pointed out. And they're not allowed to turn around and teach it to others. The clans have their own versions of Simple Domain. In the Zenin clan, for instance, they have the Falling Blossom technique that Naobito used in Dagon's domain. Dagon, oh my gosh, that name's been escaping me the whole time. I'm like, Toji versus that one! That one's cursed spirit, it's Dagon. And Maki's father used it against her. Hollow Wicker Basket was a beta version of the modern Simple Domain. So that's cool. So seeing like kind of the ancient versions of it as it was developing, that's kind of cool as well. Also, I like the clarification, so thank you, Soul Holders, that there are different clans that taught themselves the Simple Domain, but they kind of had spins on it, like with Naobito and Miwa's version as well. So thank you for clarifying. Anime Annie has a little bit of a long comment, but I love it so much, and it's very worth noting, so let's dive into that. I rejoiced at Fushiguro beating Reggie, but with the soft way Reggie talked about Tengen and called him a hikokomori, or shut-in, it did make me wish that we had Reggie for a bit longer to see what their joint past was like, alongside their past connection with Kenjaku. Now, he does say that him and Kenjaku didn't really know each other very well, but if Reggie knew about Tengen, I'm like, what did you know about Tengen? So I agree. But who knows? Maybe we will at some point get more information on that time period in the future. Well, with Kashimo around, I'm going to say we probably will, unless Kashimo's like a different time period. We'll see. In the future, if we learn more about Kenjaku's past. I am worried and concerned for Fushiguro, though, with Reggie cursing him to be toyed by fate and die a fool. I made the people in the Discord sad because Reggie's last words to Fushiguro also made me think of how Nanami didn't want to say a certain thing to Itadori in his last moments because he didn't want it to be a curse on him. That is incredible because, again, we talked in the previous comment in the intro about how Gege is setting up the contrast between Megumi and Yuji, and here is another layer to that, whereas Nanami with Yuji was like, I don't want to curse you with my death, so I'm not going to say any bad words, I'm not going to do anything like that. And then Reggie, who does not have the connection to Megumi that Nanami has to Yuji, of course is like, I'm going to curse you to die a fool. And it's like, Yuji not cursed, Megumi cursed. Ha! So will that come to fruition or not? No, but it's ominous. And, you know, you don't take curses lightly. There was a party I went to where people were passing around a voodoo doll, and I was like, I'm bringing that bad juju upon myself. Absolutely not. Anime Annie says, I need to know more about Kogane after the one attached to Hazenoke informed him of Reggie's passing. There's no rule about that. And seeing it, I double-checked that it wasn't Reggie's Kogane passing on the message. They have different tales. So it makes you wonder what autonomy it has, and why, of all things, it would choose or feel the need to tell Hazenoke that Reggie is dead. Shipping is the reason. Because Hazenoke's Kogane was like, hey, I know you like this guy, he's dead. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, I agree. I've got some phlegm today. The fact that Kogane is kind of acting autonomously is a bit worrisome, because it's like, what's its limits and what can it do? Although, Kogane acting of its own autonomy might be helpful in the future. If it takes a liking to you, it may be beneficial. If it doesn't like you, then you're screwed. So we'll see. Anime Annie said, I had to pause yet again for Takaba. I could not believe that Akutami gave us this guy as an OP character. Honestly, learning about how strong his curse technique comedian is and how it works did have me low-key terrified that all that power was in Takaba's hands. It doesn't help that Takaba is sporting a Labubu smile. Let's not bring up Labubus. As, of all things, as we learn this information, you can imagine my relief at learning that when it comes to newbies to the world of Jujutsu sorcery, Takaba is the complete opposite of Higuruma in understanding their cursed techniques. And again, Gege is playing with that notion of contrast. So that's a great thing to point out, because Higuruma, who is like this genius prodigy, instantly analyzed, dissected, figured out his technique, how to use it, what to do. And his technique is fairly limited. It seems very powerful, and it is, but it also has a lot of limitations upon it, and a lot of rules and things like that that have to be followed. And it bases itself around Higuruma's soul and how he feels about things. Takaba's ability does whatever he wants, which I'm glad Takaba doesn't know how it works, because if he did, that would be OP as hell. And then he could just do whatever he wants in this world and get away with it. So, possibly a good thing. Then, Gojo got mentioned 3 times in episode 11. 1, when talking about how Jogo and Hanami previously neutralized Gojo's Limitless. 2, when talking about Takaba's curse technique being capable of opposing Gojo. And 3, when talking about Yuta rivaling Gojo. Now, yes, Gojo has been brought up before in previous seasons to be used as a power scale comparison, but in those instances, he was always just the strongest, with no one being able to surpass him. And that's not the case with any of the 3 moments he got talked about in this one episode. Yeah, all of these things were talking about how people kind of toppled over Gojo, or surpassed him, or have the potential to counter him. So I don't know what to do with that. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be a sign that we're going to get Gojo shown, briefly mentioned, or again, like with Sukuna and like with Kenjaku, we're setting things up that are going to be talked about when we come back to the second half of this season later on, possibly in 2027. So I'm like, makes me wring my hands in nervousness. 12 Antlers says, I think it's worth mentioning that Takaba does have 0 points. While the notion that he could make anything happen by just thinking about it, and that's terrifying, the lack of points, plus a few things he said in the last episode, seem to indicate, to me at least, that he is unlikely to ever kill or seriously harm someone in pursuit of his comedy. Specifically, episode 10 had 2 quotes I found interesting. 1, Takaba stating that he's an entertainer, and therefore would, quote, never do anything that would take away someone's ability to smile. And 2, his assertion that red is banned. I took the latter to mean that simply, similar to comedy shows, excessive violence or gore is unacceptable in his comedy routine. And as such, even the most brutal attacks would result in, like, a bump on the head. That's the one thing, too. As long as Takaba stays on the side of good, as long as Takaba stays on the side helping the protagonist, I think we're fine. I honestly think that Takaba could be a Deus Ex Machina later on, because, like 12 Antlers says, they don't want to cause any destruction or gore. So if Kenjaku does something like has this massive scale attack, Takaba could just like put it into a bottle and toss it out to sea. And that's the funny humor of it. And then Kenjaku would be like, what the fudge? But in that vein, I'm like, it begs the question of us of why Kenjaku chose Takaba. Why Takaba, of all people, did he chose to activate this curse technique for? Did Kenjaku have the ability to know what kind of technique would manifest within Takaba, or is it just a gamble? Do you just say, oh, you get a technique, you get a technique, and you get a technique? Or is it the idea that Kenjaku was like, here's these 12 people, and I'm using 12 as just a placeholder number, but here's these 12 people that have, as I can indicate with my ability to detect cursed energy, they have a technique dormant within them. I'm going to activate it, and it's like a blind bag. Guess we'll find out what that technique is. Or has he been monitoring him? Has he been observing? Kenjaku's been very observant, so maybe Kenjaku observing how stressed out and tense Takaba was from being like derailed from his comedy routines, maybe he saw this opportunity that he thought Takaba would be kind of chaotic and crazy and hell-bent on vengeance upon the people that doubted him, like with Higuruma. And what ended up happening was, instead, Takaba's like, oh, you mean I can do funny shit now? And it backfired on him. So I think it would be amazing if Takaba was like Kenjaku's downfall, and he's the one that activated the technique and he caused all of this, like a self-fulfilling prophecy, that would be freaking amazing. But we'll see what happens. Takaba's on my radar, just so you all know. And then I've got a few comments left. I know I've talked forever. Solus20 says the charcuterie board style cubes you're referring to is known as HEADPHONE cubes. And to be fair, for episode 11 on YouTube, Solus20 had a really cool comment. You should go check it out. They went into all sorts of history and background with this animator and things that I thought were really cool. I'm not going to list all of it because we were getting too many comments at this point, but you should go check it out. I think they did a really good job explaining that, and I appreciate all that information. Isaac says, I like to believe Yuta doesn't like fighting, so every time we see him fighting, it's a dead stare, almost as if he's disassociating. That's a really good way to put it. I agree. I think that Yuta is disassociating because he doesn't want to fight, and he's like, I gotta do this. It's an interesting twist on the cog metaphor, because, you know, Yuji kind of views himself as a cog in the machine, and these type of actions would kind of symbolize Yuta also kind of sees it that way too, so that's interesting. And then Thomas Machurana 7674 says, regarding the opening, are you going to watch the opening along with the next episode? If so, I recommend watching it last, as it contains spoilers for the final episode. Are you going to make a separate video for it? I'm going to watch it with this discussion and reaction. We're going to do it together. We're just going to go bit by bit with the opening as we go, but I'm going to save it for the discussion. We're not going to watch it with the actual reaction because like this person said, there are some spoilers for the last episode in it. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, so thank you all so much for your comments, for your discussions. I know that took over 20 minutes, but so worth it because you all have been this season talking about and pointing out some amazing things with Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, and I hope you continue to do it for this episode, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this episode before we go on our hiatus. I'm not looking forward to that. So, with that being said, I have been told we get an extra 5 minutes with this episode, and I'm really excited about that. So it's almost 30 minutes. So I don't know if it's going to be like after credit scenes or just extended in the episode itself. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm freaking excited about it. So in any case, we are going to start episode 59, but episode 12 of season 3 of Jujutsu Kaisen. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. I get concerned whenever Gege gives us characters that are OP or have insane abilities and know it, because Gege is someone who likes writing Shakespearean tragedy. And what better tragedy than to have a character who has all the power have it stripped away in a tragic reveal? That's Gege's style. That is Gege's style. And so while this episode was absolute cinema, it was incredible. I think this is spectacle-wise my favorite episode of the season. Is it character development and thematically and symbolically the best episode of the season? I would argue no. I think that there are better episodes in terms of those things. But in terms of clean, concise action, animation, and tension throughout the episode, this is the best episode of the season, which is the season finale. It should be. It was a spectacle. It was huge. And then as the spectacle winds down, we reach a climax, which it's crazy. We've spent one episode in Sendai and it's like just all at once. And at the very end, because they want to hype up season 3, part 2, they give us little snippets of what's going on in the background that we will potentially see go on. Yuji and Takaba win. Yuji and Takaba how? Yuji and Takaba, Gege when I find you. Mappa when I find you. For hinting at that, I need answers, and I need backstory, and I need build-up, and Anyway, we're going to talk about that. We're going to get there. We're going to do the OP at the end, I decided. We're going to do the OP at the end and analyze it. There'll be a timestamp down below if you want to cut to that and then come back, whatever. But this episode was so good. And it was great seeing Yuta, because Yuta's not the protagonist. Yuji is the protagonist. But I feel like sometimes this story, what I like that Gege does with Jujutsu Kaisen is that he doesn't just make this Yuji story. It very much is also Megumi's story. It very much also is Gojo's story, or was until he was put in a box. It also is Yuta's story. It was Nobara's story, Nanami, like all of the side characters, the main side characters, all kind of get focus. And there's not really, we talked about it in previous episodes, there's not really a colossal protagonist. Yuji is not a colossal protagonist. In Death Note, Light Yagami is a colossal protagonist. The story completely revolves around him, and there's other people involved, but it's mainly him, and it's mainly his rival. That's the story. But with Jujutsu Kaisen, it very much is an ensemble cast. So everybody gets some time in the limelight, which is nice. Mekamaru got episodes devoted only to his story that Yuji was not involved with at all. And that was really cool. And so with Yuta, I really appreciate this episode devoting everything just to Yuta. I'm so excited to see it in the manga later this year. We're going to be reading the manga to build up to the second part. I don't know if we'll get to this part yet by the time it starts. We'll see. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see this in manga form to compare with the anime. That's going to be really cool. And I'll be reacting to it over on my Patreon each month. So that's going to be fun. But Yuta, this entire episode, the more OP he got and the more Gojo-like he got, the more I kept going, because we've talked about this. This paints a giant target on Yuta with Kenjaku being like, I want you. And I'm like, I don't like, every time Yuta's technique got more and more OP, I was like, which we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about with Rika and everything with all of this. So I don't know how long this discussion will be because a lot of this episode was just action. It was just action nonstop. It was so good. But we're going to talk about what we can and then we'll analyze the OP. So that'll all be good. And my dog will probably have me throw things. So y'all will have to bear with me on that. They're being really good right now, but we'll see how long that lasts. As we start the screenshots here in 3, 2, 1. I think it's very apt that this looks like, see, he just put it on the, it's like Pavlovian response at this point. He just put it on the shelf. I think at this point, it's neat to see, is this a stadium? Because I don't know if this was just the bridge and everything or if it's the stadium itself because that's where the people hid and Rika watched over them for a while. But this was definitely a battle, like an arena battle. This was a battle worthy of being in a stadium between the 4 pillars, technically 3 because we started out the episode with Druv being already gone. Hate that cockroach. Absolutely hate it. Hate it so much. I cannot tell you in words how much I dislike that cockroach. No, thank you. Nope. So we get Yuta as the narrator. I guess we should go ahead and put Yuta up here as part of this. One theme that I love about Yuta is that Yuta's theme is all about love. Yuta's theme is all about love. It's all about how that power isn't, like the power of love. Them and Rika. That's literally it. And I think it's interesting because you could argue that Yuji is not a character whose power is love. Yuji has a lot of self-loathing. Yuji is more like, I would tie Yuji to truth. If I was tying him to an element or a virtue, I would tie him to truth because Yuji is all about finding, he can't lie. Yuji is not good at lying. So he's all about telling the truth and his honesty, but his ability to kind of hone in on the truth of the matter and use his like innocent purity and truthfulness to kind of win people over is a strength that he has. Sukuna hates it. So there's that. And then Megumi, I don't know exactly what to do with Megumi. Might be justice. Megumi might be if we have truth, justice, and love. I view at this point that we have 3 main characters that have surfaced in this. Like Gojo's in a box. So Gojo I would not describe as a main character. And he was always the mentor figure. So he was never the main character except for the flashback arc that he had for Hidden Inventory. But I would say our 3 main characters, if we're following 3 people in the story, it's Yuta, Yuji, and Megumi. And they are the 3, which, you know, you have a trio, R.I.P. Nobara. We had Nobara, but, you know, I feel like it's very convenient that the moment Nobara stepped out of the story, Yuta steps in. So there's that. But you have basically truth, love, and justice. And I feel like, in my mind, Yuji represents truth, Megumi represents justice, his own justice, and then Yuta represents love. So we're going to talk about Yuta in this episode because Megumi and Yuji have had their time to shine. Now it's Yuta's turn. So he's like, we need to add a rule allowing passage in and out of the colony. Now, Yuta, when you add in this rule, because now we found out that Yuta has 190 points. I don't remember the math from the last episode, so y'all will have to do that in your own time. I'm sure you can comment it down below to let me know how the math worked out. But now he has 190 points. So we need to make rules. If he uses the 100 points to make one of the rules, then he still has 90 points. He's just got to find 2 more sorcerers to get out of the way, and then he'll be back good as gold for the next round. So, but that's not how Yuta's been doing. He's been wanting to take people's points. So I don't know if he took Drev's points. I don't think he did. I think he just killed him, and he just wanted the cockroaches' points, which, God, that cockroach, I hate it. So, yeah, adding rules. Yuta's whole thing is that he wants to add rules to help make this game easier to finish. So, one of the rules is passages in and out of colonies, making it to where people can just go in and out. The barriers are gone. We can be open borders, essentially. But another rule is that he's like, I can't afford to let players like Drev, who attack people. Yeah, it is a stadium. Okay, good. Attack people indiscriminately to leave the barriers. Yes. Which ties into Yuta, because Yuta's like, I don't want innocent civilians getting hurt, right? Yuta is very compassionate. He is very loving. He cares for others above himself. And so he's like, I don't want people to get the innocent people around me to get hurt, which is interesting. It separates him a little bit from Gojo. I think there were a lot of notions in this episode comparing him to Gojo, and Yuta and Gojo are not the same person. At all. So Yuta, I would imagine Gojo, older Gojo, like around Shibuya, was taking in mind that the people inside of his domain, when it expanded, he wanted to protect them from instantly getting killed. However, at the same time, I can't imagine Yuta. Yuta spent this whole episode trying to distance himself from the people in the stadium that Rika were protecting because he didn't want to activate. Or the domain. We'll talk about the domain expansion. Oh my God. But he wanted to distance himself from those people in the stadium to not involve them. Now, Gojo probably would have done that if he had the opportunity. So I'm not saying he wouldn't have. However, I can never see Yuta utilizing that domain expansion. I think Yuta would have tried to find any way to get around it, or like he would have just accepted that it wasn't going to happen and worked his way through it. And Gojo is a little more efficient than that. Gojo's like, I trust myself. I can keep all these people safe while expanding my domain. So that's what we're going to do. And it's like, they approach the scenario differently, which I think is important to note. He's like, after that will come eliminating players like him from other colonies as well. And so communication between colonies is a necessity. So Yuta has already predetermined that he is going to have to eliminate sorcerers who are poised to harm others, which is basically all of them. And we talked in the intro about Yuta disassociating when he has to hurt people because he's all about love and not, make love, not war. And that's Yuta's MO, but he understands that I think it's fascinating to note that Yuta understands that I have to do this. I have to fight these sorcerers and defeat them. And by defeat them, kill them if I'm going to save everyone else. And that idea that kind of goes with that is the idea of the loss of the few to save the many. Which is interesting because it is the opposite, if you think about it, of Megumi in this. It's the opposite of that. And it's more similar to Yuji. If Yuji could, he would sacrifice himself in a heartbeat to save everybody else. I have no doubt of that. Yuji has so much self-loathing. You hate that about it. You're like, Yuji, don't do that. But Yuji at this point in season 3 would very much give up his life if it meant saving everyone else. Bar none. Whereas Megumi has established in this season that he is willing to cut through everyone in his path if it means saving his sister and protecting Yuji. Those are his people at his table that he's interested in keeping in the seats. But Yuta thinks of it in a different way. He's like, I'll take out these few sorcerers if it means saving everyone else. I don't think Megumi gives one care to anybody else except for Yuji and his sister at this point. I don't think he does. So, I mean, he doesn't, he's not wishing ill will against Maki or anybody or Kamo or any of them, but does he really care about him? Does he? Oh no. I mean, Panda, he's not going to say, screw you, Panda. but I think the main people he cares about are Yuji and his sister. So communication between the colonies is necessary. So there are 2 rules that Fushiguro proposed. So here are the rules that we proposed. One was transferring the points, which Yuji helped us get, so we're good there. Then we had passage in and out of the colonies, a means of communication in and out of the colonies. So the other thing we need is a means of communication. The thing about this is interesting, is we talked about it in the intro as well with Anime Annie's comment. Kogani is already doing that communication. It's weird. Kogani is already communicating when players die, even though that's not a rule. So I'm like, can y'all just, instead of wasting 100 points on this communication thing, can y'all just sweet talk Kogani into like talking amongst each other? Can you sweet talk him into becoming a cell phone? Can you do that? I don't know. Maybe Yuji can, because Yuji's Kenjaku's kid. Maybe he can do that. And then the other thing was escape from the culling game. That was the other thing. We'll need 4 additional rules to get the situation under control. The final rule is escape. Escape from the culling game. And I feel like they're saving the escape. Well, it says transfer points, escape from culling game, passage in and out, communication. Yuta doesn't mention the escape from the culling game in this conversation. So I feel like he believes that the passage and communication is more important than the escape. And they talked about a few episodes ago the fact that they don't want, they want to try to save maybe the escape for last, because they feel like it might be the rule that is most objected by the system, because it's like you can't go against things that make the culling game continue. And if you have an escape clause, then that kind of creates the potential for the game to end, which you can't do that. So I get why they would save that for the end. Like, we're going to make that rule last. So what's interesting is, he's like, everyone's worn out from Shibuya as well. Okay, when he said Shibuya, it's like they're at their limit emotionally and physically. So he understands that Shibuya took a toll on everyone. Okay, and then we have that. And so he says, Sensei. And then he's like, I won't let you kill your best friend twice. Oh my gosh! Yuta taking on this is the biggest red flag in this entire series. I was like, you have... okay, also look at the composition of this scene. You have Geto, where it looks like he's crying blood from Druv over the banister, and he's facing the absolute shadows. Also, the seats are all red, which is symbolic in itself. Nappa, y'all know exactly what you're doing. So Yuta has made this claim that Yuta will kill Kenjaku. I would not get within 5 feet of that man. Nope. Nope. I would not get within 5 feet of him. No. I think that is the biggest red flag in this series of problems for Yuta in the future. I don't like it, because I'm like, Yuta, as he's shown in this episode, Yuta can be a long-range fighter with Rika, but with his copy technique, here are my fears. Let's just lay them all out while we're here, and we'll expand upon them as we go. But Yuta has a copy technique. Does Kenjaku know that he has a copy technique? He probably does. If he does, he's probably been planning for years now. For at least a year, he's probably been planning on ways to counteract that copy technique. He's smart. He is capable of doing so. He has this manifesting technique where he can draw up anything that Geto has eaten. I could totally see Kenjaku keeping Geto's body and trying to absorb Rika, which is nightmarish. And so, nope, don't like that. Also, Yuta has shown in this episode that even though he can be a long-range fighter, he does tend to do close-range attacks. Would not get near Kenjaku in Geto's body. Wouldn't do it. No. This man is thoroughly prepared for anything, has established it as that. I'm sure he has lots of contingency plans for battling Yuta. I don't like the fact of Yuta, and here's the worst part about it. Yuta is a loner. Yuta goes and battles people alone. We have established throughout this entire series that people send Yuta is like Gojo. He goes off on his own. That is one big similarity between them. He goes off on his own. Maybe he gets Miguel to help. Maybe he gets Yuji to help. Maybe he does this. But for the most part, he goes by himself. And he has kind of lulled himself into what I would describe as, and I'm sure people will argue with this, but I think that Yuta has, without realizing it, I don't think Yuta is aware that this has happened. He has kind of created this false sense of security in his own power. He's like, I've got this. I've got a reverse curse technique. I can copy techniques. I can do this. I got Rika. I'm solid. And so I think that Yuta believes he is capable of handling it on his own. And for the most part, he is. But when you're battling somebody that could outsmart Gojo Satoru and trap him and has 1,000 years of experience dealing with sorcerers, has made contracts with hundreds of them, has now a body that allows him to use cursed spirits that he's manifested. He's also got Mahito's powers. Everything is screaming to me at this point that Yuta's going to walk into this battle against Kenjaku being like, I can win. And every part of my being is going, no, you cannot. The plot won't let you, because guess what, bitch? You're not the protagonist. And I'm like, no, that's the thing. If Yuta was the main character of this story, if we just followed volume 0 to now and Yuta was the main character, I would feel much safer about Yuta, because I'd be like, oh, well, he's the main character. He's like Ichigo in Bleach. He's going to suffer. He's going to go through some hardships, but at the end of the day, he's going to pull through. But guess what? Yuta's not the main character. It's Yuji. And that means that Gege has a free reign on whatever he does with Yuta. And I don't like that. No. And we have talked about in my doomsday scenario that Kenjaku is eventually going to reach a point where he's like, I just don't need Geto anymore. He's going to reach that point. And it could be that Kenjaku knows that Gojo's eventually... I think that even though Tengen is laid out, like here, we should talk about this. So let's say that Reggie is right, or that Megumi, not necessarily that Reggie is right, let's say Megumi's suspicions are right, and Tengen and Kenjaku are working together. Let's just, for a second, hypothesize about that. So if that were the case, and Tengen had pointed out that Angel would be the key to getting Gojo unlocked, if Tengen knows that and has told them that, then how do we not know that Tengen has also told Kenjaku that he's told them that? He was like, hey, Kenjaku, I'm going to tell them this is the thing. And this is the plan that they're going to try to enact, just giving you a heads up. How do we not know that? So I feel that Kenjaku, if he knew that that was going to be the case, would be trying to plan around. They're going to try to use Angel to unlock Gojo from the barrier, from the box that I got him trapped in. So what are my options? And if he can't kill Gojo and he can't take over Gojo, then what's our other option? And that would be, I need another body. And of all the people that we have seen, the options that would make the most sense for Kenjaku are either Megumi. He's not going to take Yuji's body over. Kenjaku is not. That's his child. At the end of the day, I feel like it is going to come up that Kenjaku has this attachment towards Yuji, probably because they gave birth to Yuji, so there's that, but that they are not going to take over Yuji's body. Also, they're the vessel for Sukuna. We can't have too many cooks in the kitchen. So the option would be you could take over Megumi. You could. That would be a thing. But I don't think that Kenjaku is going to try to do that because Sukuna has laid claim, however your AO3 fanfic writers want to take that, he's laid claim to Megumi. That's not going to work out for him. So then what are your other options? Well, he ain't going to take over Panda's body. Not going to happen. That'd be like Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder. No. So then your other options are who's the strongest? If it's not Yuji, and it's not Megumi, maybe he could take over Takaba's body. That's terrifying, but I don't think Takaba's ability is also tied to imagination. Takaba's ability of comedian is timed to you thinking up the scenarios. You have to be able to think up the batshit crazy scenarios. I'm not saying Kenjaku's not creative. Look at Kogani. Guy's got some creativity in the brain. But, literally. But I think Takaba's ability works perfect for Takaba because of who Takaba is. And Kenjaku just takes over the body and their abilities. He has access to memories, but as we saw with Gojo literally ordering Geto to strangle himself, which, again, AO3, go at it. I I feel like you can't take the essence of that person. You're just taking their body, their memories, and their abilities, but you're not taking the essence of who they are. You're not imitating that person, right? You're not becoming that person. You're just imitating them. So I don't think Kenjaku would take over Takaba, because then the comedian technique would not be the same. And who knows if Kenjaku even really knows about comedian as a technique? Takaba doesn't even know about it. So we the audience know objectively, like, omnisciently through Tengen narrating, but this could be after the fact, right? Tengen could be narrating like freaking Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit after the fact of all this and re-going through the entire order of the story. We don't know. So then you're left with who else is the strongest, and it's Yuta. So my prediction is that either Kenjaku is going to try to take over the body of Gojo or Yuta. And then what? I mean, Takaba could be the Deus Ex Machina. Takaba has been established that they can rival Gojo. So if Gojo gets taken over by Kenjaku, then Takaba could be someone very helpful to fight him. And Yuta's been compared to Gojo, so it's like A plus B equals C. If Yuta gets taken over by Kenjaku, then Takaba might be somebody that can rival him as well. Although, damn, now that you think about it, if I were Kenjaku and I knew I had Gojo in the little box still, and I knew that there was a possibility of him breaking out, and I wanted to cause this man as much emotional distress and trauma as possible, what would you want Gojo to break out and realize? Oh, that his main mentee, Yuta, has been taken over. That would be pretty twisted and warped and sounds right up Kenjaku's alley. I'm nervous. I'm scared for Yuta. Yuta is very powerful, but I am freaking, like, so was Gojo. And we found out Kenjaku found a way to win him over, and the fact that Yuta's like, I'm gonna be the one to kill him, makes me nervous. Also, the fact that Yuta is trying to do this for Gojo and Geto. Buddy, I support you. He's a shipper too. He's like your best friend, but yeah. He's like, I'll be the one to kill Kenjaku. That is the biggest red flag of this series so far. Because if you think about it, Yuji has not even said, I'm going to kill Kenjaku. Yuji has just said, we're going to stop Kenjaku and figure out what's going on. And then you add in the mix that Kenjaku is Yuji's parent, which, how's that going to work with Yuji finding that out? How is that going to work with if Yuta finds out that Yuji's his kid? Like, there's... Gege is setting up all of these scenarios and all of this stuff to just go and explode. And I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So yeah, I'll obtain 400 points on my own. What is curious is this had to have been, this entire battle and all of that had to have been, well, this is my question. They can look up points and look up all of that. Has Yuta not looked up to see that, well, I don't think Yuta knows about the new rules. So this has clearly happened. If we're going to say, has this episode happened before Yuta knew about Yuji's rule being added? This is the thing. We've established Kogani has some autonomy to it, so one of two things. Can you, in between colonies, find out this information about points transferring? I thought you could. I thought that Yuta at any time could look up and see what points have transferred to who and that Kogani's talked to him. Maybe between colonies you can't find that out. I don't know. Or the other thing is, has this episode just happened before Yuji and Higuruma's fight and we're looking at just different time zones? But then once Yuta figures out that the transference of points has happened, then what's going to happen? So there's lots of questions about this. So yeah, we don't get the OP. We cut straight to Yuta trying to help folks get back to the stadium. And Yuta's just so sweet. What's interesting about Yuta is that with Gojo masks his pain, he masks his fear, he masks his anger with comedy and a smile, which is why him and Takaba would be such an interesting combination. But he's like, it's gonna be all right, kids. We're gonna get through this, like Miss Frizzle style is Gojo's methods, and he uses a fake smile and like just avoidance of his actual feelings. Yuta just disassociates from all those other emotions and is genuinely a kind and caring person. So again, we establish how they are different types of people with different ways of interacting interpersonally with other people. I absolutely hate this cockroach ability. This is absolutely disgusting. I absolutely hate it. Maybe I didn't iterate it enough in the last episode. Cockroaches are disgusting. I don't like them. They're gross. And when you see a cockroach, you're like, okay, the condition that they have to be in to be there makes you nervous. And then it's like, there's the whole rumor that a cockroach can withstand a nuclear blast. We've talked about bombs a lot in this season, haven't we? That makes me nervous too. But the fact that cockroaches, like, it's a well-known metaphor of like, it's like you're like a cockroach, you just can't die. That should have been a sign that it was going to come back later in the episode, but I was so excited about the possibility of 3 domains at once that I wasn't thinking about that, and then it's like, son of a bitch. But I don't even know if the cockroach is dead. Don't even know. I'm like, have you established that the points are being delivered to other people? We're going to go back to that, but its entire ability that looks like a swarm of locusts and it's just cockroaches. No, the fact that it also the animation in this episode was incredible. The animation in this episode was incredible. But the fact that like he grabbed that guy and then yuck, so gross. Nope. Not ready to see that in the manga. That's disgusting. No, I don't like that at all. I hate that so much. Ew. And we're just going to ignore it for now. It's fine. So, Rika, that would be my thing. Let's take hypothetically that if Kenjaku took over Yuta, how would Rika respond to that? Because if Rika finds out that Yuta's dead, I don't think she would help out Kenjaku at all. I don't think she would help him out. I think she'd be like the twins with Geto and be like, you're not Geto, I'm not helping you. Or not helping them willingly. Or it would diminish their ability. But I don't know. Here's the thing. Kenjaku is such a smooth operator. Would Rika be able to pick up on the fact that it isn't Yuta? Or would Kenjaku totally play in to using Rika and swooning her? I don't know. I have this hypothesis. The show is pointing to it, and I don't like it. But yeah, also, Yuta's little Kogani has a little heart tail, which ties to love, which is so cute. I also think, if we're going to talk about symbolism, the grass dying, like all of it being dead around the area, shows this passage of time. It is winter, practically, at this point. So it is tying to that. And it also, like, feels like a transition period. I don't like, there's so much like ominous vibes with this episode that I was like, oh, this is not boding well. And I know Gege, and that makes me nervous. So yeah, also love the dandelion that is shown briefly, or like the thistle, the tumbleweed that is shown for a brief moment. I don't think there's any question in our minds that this episode is like one of the best animated episodes in a long time that I've seen. Everything was so smooth. Everything was so fluid. I cannot praise the animators enough. Everything hit 100%. And we talked about this animator who did the Toji versus Dagon, remember his name now, fight back in season 2. And this feels like the same animation style. And there was only one part where Yuta's arms were noodly. That one part, I was like, oh, noodle arms. That was the only part that took me out of the moment. But everything else was incredible. Everything else was like, chef's kiss, absolute cinema. Just absolutely loved it. Hate this cockroach spirit. I will keep saying it throughout this entire episode. The fact that when it cuts you, maggots come out, larvae come out of your wounds. Parasitic things are one of the scariest things to me. I can't play Last of Us because of that, nor watch Last of Us because I know what happens in it, and I cannot do that. Spores, parasites, nope, hate all of that. Hate that 100%. So yeah. And he's like, so he's a cursed spirit. I should be able to exorcise him. And I do feel like there was a moment here where the cockroach spirit was like, why do you kill us? And there was a little moment where you kind of go, yeah, but also you're trying to kill people and drink their blood, so it's kind of justified. I guess, Why wasn't Yuta being all sympathetic towards the cockroach spirit instead of like he was with the other two sorcerers in this episode. And he's like, if I drive positive energy from my reversed curse technique into its body, he's like, that's what I'd like to know. But, however, it's so creepy. I don't like that. I don't want those other two to know that I can use the reverse curse technique. So this whole time, Yuta's trying to play chess. Yuta is trying to play chess while battling, which is crazy talk. Like, that's Gojo levels. I don't want to say it's just Gojo. Megumi was doing the same thing. Megumi was it's very curious to see of Yuta as kind of this intersection between Yuji and Megumi. Because like we've already talked in this episode, there are moments where Yuta does something and I'm like, oh, that's very similar to what Yuji would do. And then there are other moments where I'm like, oh, that's something similar to what Megumi would do. And then there are moments where he is like Gojo. So, and then there's moments he's just himself. So Yuta is this interesting like intersection of a character. And it's fun because Gege, you know, you could kind of tell that Gege maybe wanted to make Yuta the main character, but then chose to use someone like Yuji who's much more flawed and much more like able to have angst and powerlessness thrust upon him and create like a hope out of that. So it's fascinating to see it break down in this. It's curious to see what Gege chooses to do. But yeah, Yuta choosing like to act in ways that only show what he can't. The animation in this scene was so good. He's like, I just want to make sure. I also like how Yuta's energy is purple. It's like this magenta purple color, right? It's not blue, it's not red, it's like this, again, and it also kind of relates to Gojo with like hollow purple, like just, there are connections. Wave of cockroaches, hate. Take a shot every time Romania talks about hating cockroaches. You will be drunk in no time. Yeah, but just, oh, the animation was so good. Loved that. I also loved that this was kind of taking place in this field, was getting Midwestern flashbacks. Although a tornado of cockroaches is the most disgusting thing I can think of. So, nope, absolutely not. No, no, no. If I see someone cosplaying as this cursed spirit at a convention, I will be running away. I will be walking very fast in the other direction. No, but just, Yuta is so calm and collected. He has this, like, Megumi vibe of just calm and poised to him. But then there's also this sincerity and innocence of Yuji to his character as well that just, it makes you really root for Yuta, which I feel I can feel, I don't even hear it, I can feel Gege laughing in the background at us getting more and more attached to Yuta. I can feel it, where he's just sitting there with a cup of our tears being like, nee! Like just cackling, because I know he's going to make some bad shit go down, because Yuta's not the main protagonist. I know it. He is a protagonist, but he is not the main. So yeah, I also love the idea of this being in a wheat field and the idea of like chopping down the wheat and the idea of seasons and harvest, and like harvest is tied to like the time being right. And it's like, it makes me very nervous going into this of what's to come. But the imagery was just absolutely gorgeous. I was in love with this. I hate the guts. There were these little creepy bug things. Like, that. Also, it almost looked like a little Simple Domain, the way they grabbed the sword. It looked like he was going to do that. Yeah, but these little bug larvae, creepy. They exploded, got in his eyes. Hate that. Nope. And then that cockroach springing up, and the way that it, like, attacked his shoulder, and then you could see, like, and then he got stuck, like, the guts. No. That's so gross. Hate that. They're like they look like Alien. It looks like the face hugger. Nope. Hate that. Nope, hate it so much. And like, it didn't come out of his gut, but like at the same time, or maybe he was imagining that was what was going to happen. Okay, and he wanted to try to, like, that's what caused that to happen. I really was concerned. Like, I was really concerned that Yuta was going to die in this moment. I was like, are we getting a character death? Like a major character death? But then I was like, he hasn't even fought the other two yet, so what is going to happen? Also, want to establish, Yuta is a sweetheart. Yuta's a little weirdo. He's just a funny little guy. He is a weirdo. He's a dork, but he's kind of adorkable, where you're like, oh, he's really sweet and cool. He's also crazy. Which, the best sorcerers are insane. And for Yuta to be like, oh, hey, how am I going to get this reverse technique in you? I know. I'm going to, like, I'm just gonna say it, and I don't like using the F-bomb, so if you don't like hearing the F-bomb, I'm sorry. But there is such, just with Yuta in general, there is such monster fucker vibes with Yuta, and I love it. I'm 1,000 times here for it, but Yuta's all about love. He's all about love. Is he gonna make out with that cursed spirit, Rika? Yeah, well, yes, he is. Yes, he is. He loves her. Is he willing to do mouth-to-mouth with this damn cockroach? That's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen to get his reverse technique to work. Why, yes, he is. But I love that Gege does the concept of Yuta applying his ability through acts of affection is crazy and so twisted and just, I mean, I'm here for it. Good for him. I would not make out with the bug and to get an ability to use, but he sure did it. He's like, well, Yuta's a team player. He's willing to go all the way. And then we have Uro show up, which her ability getting explained was freaking cool. Also, good job, Gege. Good job, Mappa. Love the tasteful nudity. Love the way she used bits of sky to like create mirror effects and like bar her like her breasts and her genitals. I thought that was really, really well done. And also it fits her character. Her whole character motif as she finds out that Yuta is related to the Fujiwara clan that she has this beef against, which of course, it's a damn soap opera up in here. Everybody's got beefs with everybody's family. And even Ryu's like, how do you guys know each other? Do you even know him? And Yuta's like, no, but I got a big family. I'm related to Gojo. I'm related to all these other people distantly. He's like, the family reunions are wild where I'm from. So, but I think it fit her character a lot because a lot of her motif was about becoming free and becoming her own person. And she kind of has this big spiel about it. And I want to go back and read what that dialogue said. But her whole thing is about becoming free and becoming her own person. So, of course, she uses like her ability to express herself, and her body being exposed is part of her like claiming that freedom. And it's kind of like a sexual liberation sort of thing tied vaguely into it. So I thought that was cool. I love that. It's not fan service and it's not the male gaze, which I was all about. At no point was it like focusing on her breasts or her hips or something, or like longing shots of like her body that was objectifying her. No, this is just how she was and expressing herself. And Gege was very tasteful about it, and Mappa was tasteful in adapting it. And I thought that was great. As a female viewer, it made me very happy to see her like portrayed this way, right? But anyway, so we have this museum, and so we find out that part of Yuta's techniques, Yuta not only has the ability, let's talk about his techniques. Rika, Yuta has access to her cursed energy, and he can for 5 minutes totally have control over what she gives him for 5 minutes, which I like that as a timer. It gives some parameters to it. Also, he can heal. He can heal himself. So there's that. He also has the reversed curse technique that he can use against others. And we find out that he can copy. That's a big one. He's a ditto over here, copying other techniques. He can copy techniques. He can copy techniques if he consumes through Rika part of them, or he's kind of like a vampire. It's kind of crazy, or a zombie. It's kind of crazy, or if he like through touch, which kind of explains the close combat in a way. And then there's some other means that I'm probably missing, but I just and maybe Yuta will fight Kenjaku and win. No, that's not gonna happen. No. I cannot predict Yuta beating Kenjaku. There's no way. No, because he's not the protagonist. It's not gonna happen. It's gonna be Sukuna or Megumi or Yuji, in my mind, that defeat Kenjaku, if they even defeat him. He may end up living against all odds. I don't know. I could see that vaguely happening. I don't know. But do I see Yuta beating Kenjaku? No, that would be too easy. And I don't think Gege is about to let that happen. I did like this part here where she was like, I loved that if you notice her reflective, because it's pieces of the sky, they're like mirrors. It was reflecting what she was going next to, like the model set there. Distortion from a lens, which is so cool. I love that. My technique treats the sky as a surface. I love her explaining it. And he's like, she's explaining, meaning she's making the technique stronger, because a lot of sorcerers will do that. Also, that shot right there is when she grabs the sky and brings it down, and it feels like melted glass. Like, Mappa did so good on that. That looks so freaking good. That looks so amazing. I really love the animation in this episode and how it's portrayed. And the distortion bending. Love that. I love the idea that it wasn't just taking bits of the sky. I love that it wasn't just taking bits of the sky and using them like glass or like mirrors to throw at people or to break them or push them out or do that. I love that the space distortion was also about like rebounding techniques back at them, which is what Yuta ends up using against Ryu. So I thought that was really cool. It was creative and it was inventive. Someone who wouldn't complain about getting killed, right? I like that they're on opposite sides of this. Also, it's kind of cool if you're looking symbolically at it because they're in a museum. They have history with one another. Yuta doesn't quite realize it yet, but they have history because of the Fujiwara clan with one another, but they're on opposite sides of that. There's a lot of little symbolism in this scene here. And then there's like the little square of everything going back in a circle or coming back to the beginning. Love that. I can understand powerless people getting desperate for points, but a strong person like you can claim points whenever they want. So, what's your reason for actively seeking a fight? And she's like, bitch. So Yuta's like, I don't know. He's like, you're strong. Why do you need the points? What are you after? What's your end goal? And she's like, our sorcerer this age so casual about incarnation. To us, this means coming back from the dead. I mean, Yuta's like, I'm just like 17 years old. Don't be asking me these questions. But I mean, from her perspective, we kind of get the idea that Kenjaku has promised her a way. And again, this ties to her freedom. You can see the bird in the background behind Yuta on the tapestries. That to her, to Uro, this is a way for her to like have a new life, to have a second life. I think there's a curious contrast between Uro and Ryu. I keep wanting to get his name confused with Itadori, so I'm not going to do it yet until we get, I think it's Ishigori, Itadori, Gege. But Ishigori and Uro, they had really interesting, like again, contrast. This episode is all about contrast. There's lots of differences in this episode, which are really cool to point out. But for Uro, she was all about not being satisfied and having regrets with her life and how it ended up being. And so for her, making a deal with Kenjaku was the chance to come back and have a second life, to do what she wanted and to be free. It felt very like, there's a character in Attack on Titan who does things for the chance at a second life. I don't want to say their name because it's a major spoiler, but it's like that. And then with Ishigori, he, was told that he had the perfect life. He had a wife, he had a stable upbringing, he was peaceful. But for him, he always wanted more. He wanted to have just luxuries or more beyond just the bare means. That was his dessert. And he had a bloodlust within him, so he wasn't able to satisfy that. So it's interesting how different they are as characters in their motivations. But one thing that you should note for both of them is that Kenjaku exploited that. For Kenjaku, he exploited that need. Try to make these equal. He exploited that need for them to be satisfied. He exploited that. He was like, it was like a deal with the devil. He's like, let me give you what you want if you agree to help me when the time comes. Nope. And Yuta's like, I really don't know what it means to come back from the dead, but that feels like foreshadowing in itself. I don't like that either. That feels like foreshadowing. People who have lived out their lives with satisfaction would not accept Kenjaku's offer, would they? She's like, he pisses me off. The culling game is a first chance sword, a second step at life. And I like that she tries to like lecture him. She's like, Kenjaku set the stage for this. We should be earning points to prepare for anything that could happen. So that makes sense too of why a lot of these sorcerers have been storing their points, because they didn't want to use them because you might need them in case something crazy happens. And then I like that in response to all of that, Yuta's like, do you have any friends or lovers? The shade! The shade of that! It doesn't sound shady, but it's basically Yuta being like, are you all alone in this world? And that triggered her. That touched a nerve. He's like, you do not have anybody that loves you. I like that. The way her hair kind of like expands at that moment, she's like, bitch, what? That was great. Also, I like in the background, you can see like the ghoul eating the heads, the thing coming out. Like there's different little portrayals of death behind her where she is just like, you can see she's like, huh? And he's like, well, I didn't have any friends until recently either. But I can't empathize with that. I like that Yuta's like, he's like, do you not have friends or lovers? Like, I didn't have a lot of friends either, but I'm not a jerk. I'm like, damn, Yuta, the shade. And the way that Yuta says it with such sincerity and innocence, she's just like, what the fudge? She's like, he's tracing my trigger. He's trying to find what's going to make her attack. And he's like, even if you had regrets, you're killing hundreds, thousands of people years removed. She's like, how can you be desperate? Yuta's like, why are you doing this now? She's like, are you one of the Fujiwara? And then he's like, what if I was? So clearly what ended up happening and the way that he does it, whether Yuta realizes it or not, is traced back to techniques his family has used, which again, a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen is about bloodlines, about legacy. You've got the Zenin clan, you've got Yuji and Kenjaku and the brothers, the Death Wound paintings. I'm glad Choso made an appearance this episode, but we'll talk about it later. You have the Kamo clan, you have Gojo's clan, you have all these bloodlines that are being talked about, and then she's like, well, that's my trigger, and attacks Yuta. What would anyone from your bloodline understand? And Yuta's like, well, I don't even know that I'm from that bloodline, so whatever. This was the part with the noodly arms. It's just one animation moment. It's like 2 seconds, but I was just like, okay. Like that, yeah. Just noodles. But again, tasteful nudity, good for them. The rest of the episode's amazingly animated, so there is no complaining. It's still a 10 out of 10 episode, but damn. And poor Yuta, he's like, why am I getting choked so much today? He's like, that's not my kink. Go find Megumi if you want to address that kink. And then Ishigori attacks, which I really like again, contrast. I'm going to say that word forever in this episode. But you had Uro, whose technique is a bit complicated, has all of these, like, we don't exactly learn the parameters. We don't have time, but we know it's a complicated technique. Ishigori's is simple. His hair is a cannon. And that's all you need to know. It does this cursed energy output, and that's all you need to know. And so again, Yuta's thinking like, okay, I'm going to take on Ishigori first, and then I'll come back with Uro. I like that both he and Uro are organizing at the same, strategizing at the same time. He's like, I need to take on... Yuta is like, okay, Uro's attack. Again, contrast. So much contrast in this episode. He's like, Uro's technique is more close range, oddly enough, that she really needs to be by you to distort the space and use it against you, whereas Ishigori's attack is very long range. He's like, to save the people in the stadium that Rika's protecting, I really need to take him out first. Then I can take care of her, because her technique is not something that's going to be an issue for the stadium right now. Meanwhile, she's thinking, now that the cockroach and Druv are gone, I have no reason to let Ishigori run free, so I can take him out. Also noticed, the cockroach, they did not apply 5 points, I don't believe, to Yuta's score, so that should have been foreshadowing the cockroach wasn't dead. I think we were so amazed by the fact that Yuta was doing like a kiss attack that I'm like, damn. And then, damn, Yuta's fast, which we established early on in the season when he was against Yuji. But this thing where he just took the beam, I was like, okay, again, we've talked about this animator working on Frieren, talked about it last week. I feel like there's a move in Frieren Season 2 that is this exact same move with a different object. I'm like, did you all reuse animation for that? But it's not Mappa that's doing Frieren Season 2, so it couldn't have been. But I think this animator, he's got a bag of tricks, and he's not afraid to use said bag of tricks in multiple venues, which is okay. There is something to me about a character in skin-tight leather pants and a leather jacket with the delinquent haircut that I am 100% here for. It screams 90s. I love it so much. I'm going to try to tame this down a little bit. or make it bigger. But I love it so much. It's so crazy. And I like Ishigori's character design. I'm so glad he didn't die, because I really like Ishigori. And I'm like, will friendship is magic affect Uro and Fushi and Ishigori now that Yuta has spared them? Again, very different from Megumi. Would Megumi have spared either of them? I mean, he mortally wounded them and begged for and ordered for the points. Not begged, ordered for the points from Reggie. But here's the thing. No, he didn't. I'm becoming my own unreliable narrator. Last week, Reggie gave the points to Fushiguro. Fushiguro was not expecting them. Megumi very much thought that he killed Reggie and he would just get 5 points. But Reggie surprised Fushiguro by giving him the points beyond what he expected. Here, Yuta did not expect either of them to give him the points, but he made them. He was like, I spared your life, so be a dear and give me the points now, right? So I don't kill you, right? So, very different approaches to how those scenarios go. And yeah, this whole fight, he's like, will you satiate my hunger? I'm like, there's a lot of crack shipping that could go on in this. There's a lot of crack shipping that I was like, are we getting... Look, my mind is always in shipper mode. I'm always in shipper mode no matter what. And I like thinking up, like, what are new ships we can have in series? What are this? Was Ishigori kind of coming on to Yuta a wee bit? A wee bit? Am I the only one that thought that? We were talking about satiating hunger and dessert. I mean, there's an innuendo there that I was like, I was like, am I the only one thinking that? Also, Ishigori with the damn six-pack. I'm fine with this. I'm fine with his character. I'm all about this delinquent setup. Kuwabara is my favorite Yu Yu Hakusho character, so you better damn believe I'm okay with this. I'm all about this. I was like, yes, please, sir. Anything you say, sir. So yeah, he's like, would you... Now this line here, he's like, would you tell a kid with a feast before him to slow down and take his time eating? That seemed like such a crazy rhetorical question, because I was like, yes. So you don't get a stomach ache. What? And even Yuta was like, wouldn't anyone? Again, tying to the fact that sorcerers are kind of crazy. They're kind of crazy. I also love this green. Green was a great choice of being on top of the roof with this. It was a great contrast. He's like, well, that... And then he admitted, he's like, that was a bad example. It's like, I like these characters in real time revealing that they didn't make up great examples. I was like, yeah. So he says, my first run at life was moderately filling. So again, another sorcerer. This time that we established he's like 400 years old. He's like, I fought guys with backbone. I met a nice woman. It would be hard to say I had any regrets. He's like, but I was always wanting more. I had this hunger to be satisfied. He's like, I wanted a dessert. He's like, I wanted to take a bite of another piece of pie, if you get my drift. My ship. I'm all about this, y'all. So yeah, love his design. I wonder what was on his tag. I wanted it to be a picture of like his wife. There was no dessert in my life. I love the cannon hair. It's so good. It's so creative. Gege's genius for that. But the lower eyelashes, look at him. Can't trust the purple eyes character though. Established that in anime. The fight between these two, I mean, Uro's fight with Yuta's great. The cockroach is disgusting. Let's not focus on that. But this fight with them, I was like, damn, I really didn't want Ishigori to die because he's just so freaking cool. And I hope he helps Yuta in the end because that would be amazing. But because we have Higuruma still alive. We have Uro still alive, but she's probably peacing out for a while. And we have Ishigori is still alive. Ishigori and Yuji would probably have a fun time hanging out. And Hikari, throw him in there too. But yeah, those are still around. So there's still the opportunity for them to help out against Kenjaku, if that's even a possibility. But yeah, this fight was so good between them. I loved it. And just the idea, again, I'm watching To Be Hero X at the same time as this show, and the turquoise lightning and the kind of purplish lightning. If you know, you know. I was like, how very soulful. You know, that's such a good shot of Yuta. I want Yuta to take a nap. I need Yuta to get, not like a long sleep, because that usually is emblematic of death, but I need him to take a nap, because our boy Yuta, he's always had the bags under his eyes, but he looks really good there. He looks really good. Also, kind of like dark-haired Gojo, but, oh, that's such a good expression from Ishigori. That was a good expression from him. Yeah, that one right there. I'm unsatisfied because I'm not fulfilled. Well, that's, of course, yes. No shit, Sherlock. But their fight was really good. And the moment that Uro got involved, and it was like a 3-way battle, insane. And so they make this point as Ishigori is fighting with Yuta, which Yuta using the pole as like and imbuing it with cursed energy to fight back was really cool. Loved that. Loved whenever he fired the main cannon and then Yuta just literally threw a train at him. Also though, can we talk about this? Mappa. Gege. Look, I'm not saying that our boy Ishigori could be a little bi-curious, but I'm not saying that. I don't know that. But we've had a few innuendos in this series. This feels like one of them. I don't know. There was no other way you could hold that. He seems pretty good at that. Just saying. Just saying. But yeah, that moment where that line almost like went to Yuta's eyes, nope, wasn't having that. But then Yuta threw a train at him. So also I love the idea that when he gets overheated and he can't use his technique, his hair falls down. I was like, he almost looks like a Zenin clan member, honestly. I was like, it just woof. And I love that he spends the time trying to like re-get it into the canon. That's so creative. That's so clever. I freaking love that. It's so fun. Like, that's the thing. Even in this life or death situation that Gege has given us with Yuta versus these characters, there's so much fun and creativity that it becomes infectious. Like, you're just like, okay, what's Gege going to have them do next? And I feel like with Takaba's character, that's, like, amplified. Like, what's he going to do next? What's that comedy going to be like? Like, what bonkers Looney Tune stuff are we going to have in this? But like the holding the cannon like a damn shake weight and then him saying, "Are you my dessert?" I was like, look, I don't want to be that person that throws in ships to throw in ships. But y'all know my home is the harbor. And so I'm like, that seems rather shippy, you know? But what a great, oh my gosh. And then Yuta, this is one aspect of Yuta, though, that reminds me of Yuji that I get a little concerned about. And that is that Yuta is very reliant upon the reverse technique healing. Not only is he very reliant upon it, but he is, similar to Yuji, very okay with hurting himself for the sake of becoming more efficient or escalating the climax of a fight or whatever. That concerns me because if for some... Look, here's a scenario. We found out that Angel, this character that Yuta is supposed to be looking for, by the way, if we're going to talk about MOs and things, Yuta is supposed to be looking for Angel to convince Angel to help get Gojo out of the box. And along the way, Yuta has also revealed that while he's thinking about it, he's like, yeah, if I find Angel, that's cool. But also I'm going to kill Kenjaku and rescue Gojo. And I was like, that seems to be straying from the MO a little bit. And in this process, Yuta's like, oh, while I'm here, I can see that these sorcerers are hurting all these innocent people. I'm going to take a pit stop and save them. And I'm like, that's cool. Good, Yuta. Don't forget the MO. But my worry is, what if Angel is friends with Kenjaku? We don't know that. We don't know that at all. Tengen's like, y'all need to go find Angel and have her help. But I'm like, what if she's friends with Kenjaku? What if Tengen knew that? If they were in cahoots and knew that? And sent them all to surround themselves with this character that is going to be working with Kenjaku and be their downfall. And if Kenjaku and Yuta, I could just see it in my head, Kenjaku is fighting Yuta, and Yuta is like, well, I'll just use my reverse curse technique to heal myself. And then Angel is like, actually, no, you're not going to use that technique because I've stopped it from being used. I don't like it. I was just like, as this episode was going on, I was like, well, there's something that could happen here. There's something that could happen there. I don't like it. Now, again, talking about whenever Ishigori is like, you are the best. I'm like, well, you're comparing him to Gojo. The one thing is Yuta does not do like Gojo. Gojo had that like elated hyper high moment against Toji. We've not seen that with Yuta. Yuta does, again, opposites, contrasting, does the opposite of Gojo where he doesn't really get this high battling. He disassociates. He almost is like, I have an objective and that's the whole point of it. And that's all I'm going to do. Well, then Uro gets back involved and it just becomes, I think it was very in character, and I think it's smart on Gege's part, because you're like, well, why, any other person would be like, well, Uro and Ishigori could team up and just get rid of Yuta, and that'd be the end of it. But Gege cleverly writes where Uro wants to get rid of Yuta. She's like, I need to get rid of Yuta, and she really doesn't care about Ishigori, so she's fine with him going. But then Ishigori's like, hey, bitch, get out of the way, we're fighting. This is our fight. Go away. I'm trying to have my dessert, and you're trying to butt in. So it all works out to make this tumultuous environment where you're two antagonists that if they were smart, they would team up together and battle Yuta. But because of their own personal agendas and because they're loners, they can't work together. And that feels very intentional on Gege's part. Also, her calling Ishigori dick cheese. Love it. Best 2 seconds of dialogue in this season. And so he's like, wow, that's the first time I've had to eat my own technique. Foreshadowing when Yuta makes him do it again later in this episode. But he talks about how reverse curse techniques are a pain to deal with, but it burns cursed energy like crazy. But haven't we talked about the fact that Yuta has an insane well of cursed energy, like more than Gojo? So that's why he's able to do all of this. Again, the more that I talk about Yuta and how amazing he is, the more I just feel Kenjaku being like, tell me more. Sell me on this car. I'm all about buying it, car salesman. And I'm like, I don't like that. So yeah, we're finally seeing the bottom of reserves. Well, joke's on him. We are not. I do like the metaphor of him viewing it as the dessert shop that wasn't open. And then he's all stoic here. He's like, I guess it wasn't you. I guess you can't satisfy me. And I'm like, oh my God. Well, you might be proven wrong. And the moment that Yuta was like, I didn't want to do this, it's classic shonen. When you think the main character is at his end, the bottom of the well, not going to be able to do things. He's like, I didn't want it to be this way. And I'm like, but I got to bring out the big guns now. And then he brings out Rika. Also, the way this is animated, this looks straight out of the manga. Like, they changed the way that Yuta looks in moments like these that look so much just like the manga. It's kind of crazy. I like the line art, the sketching, the hatch work that's on the hand there. Like, it just looked like Mappa was like, let's pay homage to the manga in this moment and use these frames. Because his eyes look a little, when Mappa animates Yuta, his eyes look a little different, you can tell. But the manga shots are so good in this. Love that. And then Rika shows up in their entirety. This is my favorite part about Rika in this whole episode, is when she just like opens up her heart and all these weapons come down. I was like, bitch! She's just like, what do you want, Yuta? I've been collecting for you all day long. I was like, and the badass glove that he chooses. Oh, bitch, yes, please. Loved that. Love that. And so the complete manifestation of Rika can remain connected for 5 minutes. And this is about 14 minutes, so about the 20-minute mark is where he stops getting connected. Good job, Mappa. Good job. So yeah, so they all start fighting, and it's like this 3-way battle between them, and it's just chaos. Everything is just chaos. Yuta, I love Yuta's like glove. It feels very Mekamaru-ish. Love that. I kept thinking it was going to get amputated. I really thought that at some point that arm was going to get amputated, and I was like, oh. But it didn't. It got injured by Ishigori's attack, but it did not get completely taken off. But the fight was just such a spectacle. I also love the distortion bending where she like lifts up the road and all the cars like fly out. Like, it's just, collateral damage be damned at this point. At this point in this season, But what a great, this episode was so good. The animation was fantastic. I'm going to be taking so many screenshots. Just the expressions, everything. So freaking good. I loved it. And then, in the midst of all this, she's like, I won't forgive you. I wanted to go back to, I liked this shot here. This was great where Ishigori is like doing this like Dunkin' Donuts ring around him. He looked very much like it's very space dandy, felt so shonen. I love that look. Where he's just like disco era, getting up there. So good. And yeah, him just creating this ring. You can tell the animators really like Ishigori. They loved animating him. They really did. And I feel like, I don't feel like, because I know we see his abs a lot, but here's the thing. A lot of people will say, well, you didn't want to see Uro and her nudity, but we're okay with this. Well, first of all, it's just like his abs, right? They don't even show nipples. We're good. But also, the whole point of like fan service and objectification of a character is it takes power away from that character and thus puts them in a vulnerable non-consensual position. Here, he's chosen to expose the abs, just like Uro has chosen to expose parts of her body. It's a symbol of power. So they are very much consensually fine with this and the gaze upon it, because that is something that they have approved for us as the audience. So I'm all about it. I freaking love his design. His character design is probably my favorite this season. It's so simple, but it's so perfect. And so, yeah. So through this ring, Yuta concerns me because of how easily and quickly he goes into close-to-close hand-to-hand combat. And I know he chose a weapon that requires close combat, and I think he did that because he knows that one, Ishigori is a character that fights long range. Close range, he's strong, but probably not as strong. And then Uro, he needs something close range. She can really only fight close range, except for like, maybe in the vicinity, like with the road bending and stuff. But she still needs to be close enough to you for it to work. So he's like, I need something that I can fight close range with. And he fought close range with the cockroach spirit. That makes me nervous. But I'm surprised how effective Yuta is at fighting close range, because I have always viewed Yuta as a long range fighter. With Rika, with how he was in Volume 0, I just view him as a long range fighter. And so to see him in this episode get up close and personal and be effective, okay! He doesn't have Limitless, but he damn well has some good techniques up his sleeve. So yeah, so they're all fighting within this. Uro comes down. It's this big old mess of she keeps using thin icebreaker, which I kept thinking of when she was using icebreaker. That's an idiom for like a mixer or questions or an activity you do to kind of like get to know someone, which is really ironic because she's not trying to get to know anyone. She wants to distance from relationships in this scenario. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, okay. So then we had this where she said Tisk. I wanted to get to this because I didn't have time to read it. The Sun, Moon, and Stars squad was the Fujiwara clan's personal squad of assassins that was talked about last episode. We lived in darkness and served with selfless devotion. We were even forbidden from having our own names. That's crazy. So they were like kind of like just a band of nameless assassins that were working for the Fujiwara clan. Feels very Zenin in a way, somewhat. And then she said, as Yuta says, yet that man once granted me a name so he could execute me instead for his crime of slaying his own kin. This feels very Zenin. All these clans are out here doing shady shit. This sounds very, very Zenin. So apparently one of the Fujiwara clan members framed her and gave her a name, which, if you were someone that was an assassin that was nameless and you were suddenly given this identity, of course you would be so grateful for it and so like felt like, oh my gosh, I have an identity and agency for the first time, only for the betrayal of that person just giving you a name so they could frame you for their own crimes. Yeah, I'd be pretty pissed too. I'd be pretty mad at the Fujiwara clan as well. But yeah, and then she just is like, Fujiwara. And Yuta's like, I am not my ancestors. And Ishigori's like, I'm still hungry. And they all... Also, can we talk about this part here? Where he ripped out parts of his hair? Where Yuta ripped out parts of his hair. So because Rika is connected to him, I'm assuming this is while it's under the 5 minutes. I don't think he can do this just anytime he wants to. But can make mini Rikas? I'm like, is this kind of like Kogani's creation? Like, what is this? Like making little mini Rikas, little bat Rikas with the fudge? Again, with him like biting that cockroach spirit, there's like a vampire theme with Yuta. And he's pale, has the stuff under his eyes. There's a vampire theme. It's kind of crazy. It's always used Fujiwara. You always get in my way. Yuta's like, I am not a part of this. Are you that afraid of me? Of me becoming my own person? And Yuta's like, look, this seems like an old grudge that I have no connection with. But also him using Sweet Inumaki's technique. So I'm like, did you make out with Inumaki? How did you get Inumaki's technique? How'd you get that? I was wondering for a second before we knew about the copy thing. I was like, how did he get Inumaki's technique? How did that happen? I'm like, did you make out with him? Multi-shipping. What? So that, wow, it's wild. And he's like, he had defeated Druv. Oh, okay, so Druv, who was able to, technique made the path of his Shikigami into his domain, which cut into anything that it touched. So he also was using, Inumaki's technique. He was also using Druv's technique, which we've talked about Yuta being this combination of Yuji and Megumi, but that also kind of makes him like this combination of Gojo and Geto. I'm like, what? Yuta. And so she's like, is his technique copy? Is that a Fujiwara clan technique? We're assuming perhaps. But yeah, so they are all fighting, trying to push each other to limits. Love how her using the sky, it almost looks like butterfly wings. That's really freaking cool. Love that. And she's like, it's always the ones who have become someone who bark things like that. Like, I kind of feel for Uro. Uro has a big chip on her shoulder. I feel for her. Now's not the best time to be going through therapy sessions with Ishigori. Would never go through a therapy session with him, but Yuta as well. Also, that would hurt to have your boob slashed. I'm just saying, that would hurt. Yep. And so then the three of them all getting together. What a shot. All decide to use. I love the drumming. It's like the drumming of something. It feels very tribal. Love that for him. Just the drumming is so good. And that like being the start of his domain expansion. I'm like, oh, love that. And so we have him doing the drumming as the foundation is literally shaking. And then, so he does this thing with his hands where he starts his domain expansion that way. What did she do? She did, in that moment, it was green. Let's see. So we have all three of them as a triad. Okay, she had her arms like this, like she was getting, which felt very Wonder Woman. And then him with the ring. And then just doing the... Did Yuta do a domain expansion in Volume 0? I feel like... I don't know if they did or not. Because in that moment... And that's straight out of the manga. That's so good. That face of Yuta, straight out of the manga. I freaking... That all just looks out of the manga. I love that. So them all doing domain expansion at once. This was the biggest case of, like, give me back Yuta. Oh my god. So, Rika can't get to the barrier. I'm curious. What a case of edging! What a case of blue balls! What a damn cock tease! Like, just show us their domains! But Gege's like, nah. Here's the thing. Since Uro and Ishigori have been spared from death, it is very possible that we will see Uro and Ishigori's domain in the future. And it is very possible we will see Yuta's domain in the future. So it's almost like Gege was just giving us a little tease, a little preview, a little touch being like, oh, we'll see it eventually, but today is not that day. And I'm like, ah! So I loved that, but then that damn cockroach, nope. So what did we get here? Did we get anything? Let's settle this nice and sweet, which ties to the dessert. So all these swords, lots of fireworks, flames and tapestries. The Black Devil of the modern age. Yep, at that moment, the Black Devil of the modern age. I like the taste of iron. Ew. No. Flew into the barriers. The Black Devil of the modern age is disgusting. No. Hate all of this. Yep. And Kurourushi had completed parthenogenesis before going dormant. Which means so it was still alive as well as a cursed spirit. So yeah, it's like a damn cockroach. You can't just kill it. I hate it. The complex forces of the three domains had all been keeping them all in check. But this intruder was unexpected. So they were going to be able to fight inside the domain because of the balance, but then the barriers all broke apart. So the thing is, there it's back. Uro's pissed because they're like, why? Why is this cockroach spirit alive and doing things? And then Yuta just kicked her. Yuta's like, boop. Kicked her into the cockroach. Yuta was not playing. Damn it. That was actually really funny. I felt for Uro, because Uro not being able to use their technique right after domain expansion, that's, hate the fact the larva. That all makes sense now. I was a little worried that Rika eating the arm would have like larva inside of her as a cursed spirit. I was really worried about that, but the larva did bust out and the arm was just there. So Rika eating the arm allowed her to be able to copy the technique. So there's that. Also, Rika's like freaking zombie over there. She's like, how dare you take my arm? So she's gonna be armless when she's been restored. And then, so Ishigori like wants to get the cockroach and her out of the way. And so in the moment that the cockroach tries to fly out and escape from being attacked, that's when Yuta strikes. So she gets knocked out. Also, tasteful nudity using the hair to hide her body. Good job. It's a cursed energy output. Simple but effective. And then I like the guys to keep... Also the hair kind of looks like... Maybe as it's flopping, looks a bit phallic. Are we compensating for something, Ishigori? Are we? Maybe? As he strokes it, it starts to rise. Oh my god. So yeah, then we have this nasty-ass cockroach. Half of it's gone. It's got this meat-cleaving sword. And then Yuta's just like, bye, bitch. So I guess that we got rid of both. But then, where was the 5 points? Again, they didn't announce the 5 points. Anytime, it's like, it's one of those like no body, no death scenarios. If you didn't announce the points, did he actually go? I don't know. I don't like it. No, not at all. So... I love this shot where he points the finger at Yuta being like, Okatsu. And he's like, let's go, Rika. I like Okatsu doesn't even recognize him. He's like, let's just do this, Rika. I love that, you have Ishigori using the finger like a gun, but then Yuta's like literally the hand of God touching at him from that one painting. It's very, very poetic. So they go at it in a fight, and then because the arm was eaten, he was able to use... here's the thing, he was able to use Uro's technique to use his own against him, right? He was able to do that. He didn't copy Ishigori's technique, because I was wondering, I was like, was he able to copy the technique? No. Instead, he used her technique in the moment to get at him, which is great. So he planned to charge and unleash his cursed energy before Ishigori reached maximum output. So Yuta was going to play dirty. He was going to charge and release it before Ishigori could be fully charged, because he knew that Ishigori at his base level was a little bit stronger. But then he saw, let's let it all out. 400 years of longing. The intense gaze full of that hunger. Yuta is a lover and a fighter. He's a lover first, a fighter second. So he saw that face and Yuta fell in love. Yuta is just, how about everyone? Yuta's like Rika, Inumaki, Ishigori. He's like, I'm here for everyone. That gaze full of that hunger melted his heart. And he's like, you know what? Even though he would likely never find meaning in fighting. That's the moment, like, Yuta hates fighting, and he's a lover, not a fighter, and he does this out of obligation, but then there's moments like that where he sees that love, and he's like, okay, all right, I'll give you what you want then. Fangirling just this once. I don't know, that look there, I'm projecting because I am predicting. Look, this is, to me, I love this as it's emblematic of Yuta's character. It's so great about his philosophy and everything. But at the same time, this is like the biggest death flag for Yuta if we're talking about him versus Kenjaku. Because he says just this once. You treating this like Pringles or what? So he's like, oh, just once I'll let this happen. I'm like, that line there, that look there, it's giving me Kenjaku in the moment. And I'm like, I was like, oh, I don't know. I just feel like that's going to be his downfall. I'm like, I don't know. I worry about Yuta. I really do. And the fact that he was willing to put it on the line for the sake of battling him and helping him satisfy his hunger and having those loving expressions. I feel like there should have been a flashing light warning with this episode. Mappa, Crunchyroll. I feel like there should have been a little light. I don't know if there was a warning with this episode. It feels like there could have been because there were some strobe light effects with this one scene. And he's like, that was seriously sweet, Okatsu. But then, yeah, he's like, let's keep going. And he's like, and then I like the idea that Rika can fire the cursed energy can on his own, and Yuta came up. He's like, well, you couldn't have recovered that much. Don't ever assume anything about any character. And then as he's going up, that's when his technique had already recovered. And he used Uro's technique to flash it back. It was a different technique. I love the way that they drew Ishigori's like just stunned expression, that he's like, wait a minute. He was able to use another person's technique? His technique is copy. And it's like, yeah, but what would satisfy those conditions? And then he realizes the arm being ate. Yep. And so, yeah, then Rika is able to smash his head in. And did Rika ingest a little bit of blood in that moment? Possibly. Possibly through that connection. Yeah, we can assume that maybe Rika got some blood in that moment. Perhaps. I love how fierce Yuta looks in this moment. Like that just, Yuta looked really fierce. Bless. That shot too! The fudge! Mappa! That shot! The shadows! The abs! Everything! That's incredible. That is an amazing shot. That, just absolutely in it. Like, you can tell who their favorites are. This is what dessert is like. And then as he's fighting, he was waiting for that technique to come back. And then there we go. Yep. And in that instant, he sent it sailing back to him using Uro's technique. So he didn't use his own. And then I love the metaphor that Mappa uses of the dessert. And the dessert being done. We got fed this episode. This episode was a metaphor of us getting fed. We got fed and we got fed well. So I'm all about that. So yeah, and then he's like, I'm full. Again, innuendos, y'all. I could say lots of things about cream pies and things like that, but we're not going to do that. We're going to be classy here. I'm going to let you determine that for yourself. So I really didn't want Ishigori to die. And looking at Yuta there, look at him with a little hair pulled back. He's like, oh, look there. He did spare him. He did spare him because he wanted the points. And now Yuta started out with 35 points. So Yuta started out with 35 points. So 190 minus 35. Take the 8. So we had 5. 5. So 55. So 155 points were between those. Well, and plus, the cockroach spirit, we didn't get points from them. So I worry. You're too soft, Okatsu. I do worry about that. Yuta is soft. And I do worry that that is going to be a problem down the road. I really worry about it. I really get afraid about it. I'm tense. I'm tense going into the next season, knowing, or the next core season, whatever, knowing he's like, well, sparing the life of a sorcerer who tried to kill you, there's nothing to gain from it. And he's like, you spared her own. He's like, yeah, I did. But he's like, I guess my blast was weaker after my domain expansion. That explains something too. That explains why he didn't die, because of that little tidbit. Which again, Gege's genius, because it's like, you got to tease us with 3 domain expansions, and then you used that tease to justify how both of them lived, because you needed them to live to give the points to Yuta. Like, Gege's thinking ahead about all of this. She kept going on and on about something. There's nothing I can say to her. I like that he asked if it was a lover spat, and Yuta was like, well, yeah, kind of, because Yuta's all about love. But in his mind, he's like, we're not lovers. She just is confusing me with people from long ago. Anything I said would lead to violence because I'm blessed. And that's the thing, too. Uro had this big chip on her shoulder because she felt disenfranchised and she felt victimized because of her circumstances and background. And Yuta's like, no matter what I say to her, because I've been blessed with all these unique abilities, he's like, nothing I say is gonna reach her. Maybe. We don't know. But anyway, so he's like, regardless, please give me your points. I love that he kindly asks, but it's definitely like you're going to give me your points because I spared you, right? Whereas Megumi was not expecting it, and Reggie gave it to him regardless. So he's like, you should be grateful to my friends. That's the thing. Yuta's like, he's like, you should be lucky that these friends have given me this MO, because otherwise I would go on a 3-state killing spree until I got to Kenjaku. So he got 190 points through the transfer. But now it's like and that's when we get the dialogue, you're the one who will reach their limit. Ugh. I mean, here's the deal. Yuta is not limitless. That's Gojo. So there is probably a limit to all of this. I want to go through the last couple shots before we get to the OP. So we have that shot of him, and then he's talking to Uro, and Uro's telling him, she's like, I've seen it. You're the one who reached their limits. What did you see, Uro? Do you know Sukuna? Do you know Sukuna personally? Oh my god, that look. Oh man. Suabe with the 4 eyes, and there's like a little piece of a mask that's included. That's interesting. And like the multiple arms, and damn. Okay. All right. Interesting because, the hair and stuff. Interesting about that. Oh, man. Oh, she's like, you'll reach your limit. I'm curious about that. Okay, so we have Hikari. Hikari is with this silver-haired man that we don't know. Sweet style. Don't know him. Looks like he could be related to Miwa. Speaking of which, we're going to see her in a second. Be it sorcerer or cursed spirit. Hashimo is killing people still. That surprises no one. He's trying to gain all his points so he can make a rule, probably. Those who surpass the bounds. I like that Maki is like Bulma on Namek. It's like killing crabs in the ocean. So she's out just killing cursed spirits. I like Maki's little superhero cape. Good on her. Also the sword she has. So there's that. Maki's out killing cursed spirits and things. Fun for her. Yep. Those who surpass the bounds of being strong. Miwa! I'm so glad we get to see Miwa. Where's she been? What's she doing? Everything looks like it's in shambles because her boyfriend's dead. Meanwhile, I like Yuki's style. I like Yumi's style. And then Choso's like, so are we just gonna like sit here and talk to one another? Or are we just being held here against our will? Or what? I want to know what they've been talking about this whole time. Also, the little tiny figure in the corner there. I've got one of those too. That's fun for luck. Those who surpass the bounds of being strong. And then we see Angel just yoink, taking Megumi wherever. Where's she taking Megumi? I don't know. Concerned about such things. Is she taking him to Kenjaku? What's happening? All have overwhelming egos. Now, here's the thing. And then there's freaking Kenjaku holding Gojo underwater. I'm concerned about that because that feels like you're just waiting in the depths to spring out and attack somebody. But also, if a bomb was dropped on the city, I guess the ocean would be the place to be. I guess the sea would be the place to hide out so you weren't affected immediately. That's problematic. But also the idea of they all have overwhelming egos. And hubris systematically through the story since ancient mythology, hubris has been the downfall of man. Your pride goeth before the fall. And so Uro is saying, like, you can pretend to be all innocent and sweet and lovey-dovey as you want to, Yuta, but you have an ego from the power that you have. And we've seen that. Yuta believes that he's going to be fine, that he can push through. But that hubris is a flaw, and it is something that can be exploited. Yep, they don't concern themselves with other things. They are calamities. So yeah, now we see what Sukuna looks like right now, but we all know there's this buff daddy version of him that's underneath the surface that I'm like, okay. Yep, they're calamities. What is this, Heaven Official's Blessing? And then, how did Yuji and him end up together? My biggest question of the whole damn episode. When did this happen? How did this happen? Gege, I swear to you, if you and Mappa do not show us how this dynamic duo ended up together, I will find you. I will find you, Gege. I swear. This is amazing. To be continued. I love that to be continued because that means we're getting part 2. I'm so excited about that. I'm so ready. I love that. So yeah, speaking of which, now I can watch the OP. Let's do that, shall we? I've talked for an hour and 30 minutes about this episode, which when I watched this episode, I was like, there's so much good about it, but what can we talk about other than what's been said? All right, we're going to be breaking down this OP. I want to watch this OP in its entirety. I'm going to get some headphones real quick and so I can listen to the song because I've not heard the song or anything like that. So let's get this hooked up in here. Doop. All right, I'm going to be listening to the song first. I don't know how this wig's going to work with this. Oh, it works pretty well. Okay, we're going to be listening first to this, and then we'll go back through and look at it bit by bit, right? Let's do this here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Let's see if we were going to get spoiled. Oh, love and hate. Ooh, that's dark. Uh-huh. Oh, wow. Oh. Oh, Yaga. And Maki. Oh. Oh, bitch. Drowning in Drama is the name of this season. Oh, man, the bomb. Oh! Like a microscope. Oh my god, like a microscope! Ah! Oh! Ah! Oh my god, I love... Oh! And the prism! Ha! Oh. Wow! Okay. What is this? What is this at the end of it? Oh, okay. It's just like the little end of... Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So we're going to go back through this OP now. Okay. Yeah, that would have been major spoilers. What are you... When people are like, wouldn't be spoilers, and I'm like, yeah, that would have been a lot of spoilers. Okay, so let's go through this. I'm concerned about this whole bomb metaphor, and the microscope metaphor is way more interesting to me. The bomb metaphor, I'm like, oh, maybe it's metaphorical. Maybe it's just metaphorical. Maybe it's not literal. I don't like the idea of dropping bombs on cities. I do like love me, hate me, kill me. That's like such a contrast there. Which, you know, we've talked about Yuji and Yuta and Megumi being our main 3. Love me, Yuta, hate me, Megumi, kill me, Yuji. You could tie the three of them there to that if you wanted to. Also, what's interesting is Yuji walking towards, we're going to use a different color for this, for the opening, because I feel like there's stuff we can break down with this. We have this idea of Kenjaku. We have the idea of Kenjaku looking at the colonies like through a microscope to watch it, which is funny because he's supposedly in water, like underwater right now, through a microscope. And then we have Yuji walking towards the eye of Kenjaku. Which, the whole dynamic between Yuji and Kenjaku is so fascinating to me, especially because of what Yuji doesn't know. So that's interesting. But okay. And then I love the turning it up. Yeah, turn up the volume. Hell yeah. Or is it turning up the heat? Either way. So, okay, we have this explosion that we start out with. We have Yuta battling with his sword. I'm trying to get like little tiny clicks of this. Okay, get in the buildings. Getting Yuji falling. Okay, like when he arrives in the colony. So we got that. Nice. Sing the Frenzy of Greater Tokyo. Who is this? Was this supposed to be Maki? No, it's Choso. Okay, so Choso spinning in a circle is interesting because we literally did not see Choso this entire season. So fascinating. Megumi, spin the wheels of time. I'm going to drop the quality down to like 1080 just because I think it'll make the timing of me stopping it a little bit easier. Spin the wheels of time. Interesting. And then, oh wow, that literally was spoiling Megumi using his domain expansion because there's the spinal cords and there's all of that. Soaked in the shame of staying alive. Well, that's relating to Yuji, 100%. Maki. Okay. We've got Maki being blown up. And, like, I love her long hair. Like, it's going to be like a phoenix rising. Wow. Okay. Okay, so we got bits and pieces of all of Megumi's Shikigami in this moment, right? So we have one. Okay, and I like that they all have different backgrounds. That's really cool. So we have one that looks like this with the symbol of that. We don't know which one applies to one. I mean, how many are we going to get? Okay, and then we have this next one that looks like another temple, and it is a cross again. You know what's kind of funny about these? These kind of sort of seem similar to the marks on Sukuna. Again, I'm drawing some parallels. Oh, there's so many, like you could barely miss it. Damn. Okay, there's also this teardrop one that looks like maybe it's the frog. Interesting. I like that it's as Megumi standing up. That's so freaking cool. Like showing him standing up as we're doing this. Again, some of them have little similar things to them. 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks like a Dragon Ball. And then that one looks like a little lotus. So that's cool. A little lotus. And that over it. Neat. And then, okay, that one's the suicide one, the wheel. That we don't want to use the wheel, right? We don't want to use the wheel because that's the bad one at the very end. Okay, and then this one, maybe that's the elephant. That's a long, complicated one. I'm not going to draw that one. And then the wheel. And the wheel, I love that the wheel as he stands up is like the last resort, right? Then there's Panda feasting on love and hate. Wow, that ties to Ishigori a lot. Oh, Panda, like sweet Panda. It's so cute. Also, this shot here, where it's Yaga facing the camera, and then you turn around and he's not facing it like he's dying, and it's black and white almost. Like a funeral portrait. Wow. March in this pompous parade. That pompous parade is a great shot for it. Also, Maki with the tiger in her hands. Yes! Oh, that's so bitchin'. And then Yuta striking down with Rika. That's really cool. Also, I love seeing like her. There was a lot of Maki and Mai stuff in this, like with Maki, like her former self, and then Yuji from like the first episode, going through a Yuji versus Yuta, end up ripped apart. I wish we had more of her in this episode. I really do. But yeah, so we got some with her, Panda, Choso. Choso looks so good. Choso looks so good. Yes, please. And then the sword with Maki, farewell, see you again, like her and her sister. Hell yeah. And then Megumi with the domain expansion. Yep, and Yuta. There was also, go back to this. And then Yuji. Okay. I want to try. Okay, so we had Yuji in that moment. Is he right after Yuta? Yep. And Yuji. Okay, and then we had, oh my god! The animation on this one panel, and it's like Yuji with the brothers and his hand over Ketchizu, like that. Oh my god! And then the little curse wombs are in the vials around them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my god, that's genius. And then Megumi, you can see the shadow of him over the sister. Also, the sister's mark looks similar to like his Shikigami, so that's crazy. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Also, want to talk about, if we're going to talk about family. Yep, and then there's Yaga with Panda. If we're going to talk about family, Yuji and his brothers, Megumi and his sister. I like that Yuji and multiple brothers, Yuji and one sister, and then Yaga with his child. So good. Okay. And then, oh, that from Shibuya! Bitch! Sukuna! That is crazy! That panel's wild. That panel's wild. Oh, Mappa. And then, you know, Yuki's just sitting, you know, looking pretty on this building, looking at, I like that this is framing, it's framing her versus Kenjaku in this moment. But then we have the tunnel breaking up, the colony breaking up, drowning in drama. That is the name of the game this season. Accept my unfinished self. I don't like this eclipse with this bomb. I don't like that. So then we have Tengen surrounded by his posse of could-be heroes. I like that Choso's kind of looking away like he's not totally on board with this. And then, soothing fiction. Soothing fiction. I don't like that line with Tengen. That makes me suspicious of Tengen because it's like, fiction is not real. And then, as he like looks up, I don't like Kenjaku watching Tengen. That makes me nervous. Like he's surveilling, although Kenjaku surveilling Tengen makes me think they're not working together because Tengen kind of looks surprised in that moment, but I don't know. And then he gets up. I like that he puts it looks like a microscope on the colonies. Yeah, like he's this shadow looking over it, like watching and seeing what's happening. Forgive even this botched love. Well, and then we have, Maki being like, gotta do my things. Yeah. I don't care. I'll survive this stage. Let's not jinx it. Oh, wow. Biting tension like a rabid dog. That makes me think of Megumi. Oh, that shot of Yuji. Uh-huh. And then, like, okay, so we have the forest, like, with Yaga and all the pandas. I just won't take the beating. And yeah, lots of imagery of Maki and Mai roaming through the forgery. That... Oh, my God. Oh! That looks like something that Francisco Goya painted. That is insane. Yuji in like the womb with Kenjaku as the mom. That's so basically confirming that Kenjaku did give birth to Yuji. Because the scars are on her while she still has Yuji in the womb. Oh my God. Or if not in the womb, like has given birth to him. Oh my God. I mean, that looks like a woman that's given birth. That's so messed up. Oh my God. And then, yeah. And we cut from that to the twins. Show. I love the painting style. And Yaga, children, parents. Also, if you notice, there's Yuji and Kenjaku, parent and child. Yaga and Panda, parent and child. The twins are just laid out in a bed. There's no parent in that scenario. That's crazy. That's so crazy. Oh my God. And then again, who is this with this? Who is this with this? Who is this woman holding? That's not Yuji. Who is this woman holding? Is that Naoya? Who is this? I can't say meek and quiet. Is that, or is that the sister? And, oh, is that the sister and her child that Yaga helps do that later? Oh, wow. And the mom, like Maki's mom, doing like the scream. It's in the same It's in the same art style as the Scream. That's so crazy. I love that. Yep. And then Tagaba just working out in the costume. Love me, just for righteousness. Well, speaking of that, there's Naoya. There's the twins. Oh, there's Remy with the pathway of which path do you choose. Oh, what was the other way? What, they showed us a picture of that real quick. Oh, wow, and it's him, yeah, with Yuji on the other side, except there's the rainbow and the sunflower for Higuruma. Oh, that's so cool. Yes. And then Higuruma and the judge and the prosecutor that he killed. Wow. The third seat's open, meaning that Shizuka got away. Wow, for righteousness. So wait, when did Takaba and Yuji become friends and meet one another? Oh my god, this feels like Chainsaw Man. And then Megumi. Or no, that's Yuji. Steal everything. Hate me, steal everything. This is maybe my favorite part of the whole OP, is just Megumi going... Megumi is only involved because Yuji is there. And because he doesn't want Takaba to hurt him. That's the only reason. That's so funny. I need to see Yuji meeting him. I need to see this. And then this artwork here going up the microscope that is the connection of the tunnel of the colony. It looks like the artwork of The Kiss. If you've ever seen the painting The Kiss where she's like up against his face and they're kissing. But the like pattern of her dress and everything, it looks like this. It looks like that, which would connect to The Kiss! It's referencing it! Yes, between the cockroach and Yuta! Oh my god! Well, that would have spoiled the episode. Oh my god, that's crazy! Holy shit! God, that's so wild. And then the bomb dropping. Okay, so we had Yaga, we had Yuta. We had, oh, bless his heart, our dear boy, gone too soon. Old man, Choso. Higuruma with the sword of justice. Yuji. And then Kusakabe. With the simple domain. Reggie. Megumi. Panda. Maki. And then, ooh, who was that one? Right before Yuta. Oh, who was that? Oh, yeah, the one Zenin. And then Hikari. And then our girl Karara. And then Yui. And then, yep, Naoya, them, all that. Naoya's ability, yes. Oh, love that shot of Hikari. That's so good. Love and hate locked in embrace. Burning these books. What do they say? We don't see what the books say. Okay, cool. Burning the books. I mean, that's in the same scene. And that's Maki Karara. Karara with love and hate. Love that tied. Always at the peak forever. Higuruma is always at the peak forever indeed. Him with the like sunflower on fire. Oh hell yes. With the big giant court flying apart and blowing up. Yes. And then the Zenin clan. Wow. And there's now Beto with his arm around Naoya. Looking awfully anti-woman up in here. Where's Maki? We don't see her. Wow. Yeah, that was before that clan's gone. I'm finding it interesting that she's in this so much with how little she was in the season. And then there's the cockroach spirit. Don't like that. It's fine to keep deceiving. I don't like that. And then, yeah, Ishigoro. And then Uro. Love that. I love the prism, like the Pink Floyd prism. And then, yep, I don't mind the cost. Yuta doing I don't mind the cost as we see him and Rika and all this. With that, I don't mind the cost tied to him. I don't like that. And then, yeah, oh, look at our ship of Hazanoki and Reggie. And then them all going after Maki. That feels like ages ago. All of that feels like ages ago. And then this, like, Takaba. Thrashing in love and hate and scattering polite smiles. And then there's the sister with Kusakabe. And then Maki and all the blood. Everything ends. No questions needed. No, there are lots of questions needed. Yep, that's a great shot. And then those two together. This whip. That's the attack coming back. Farewell. See you again. And the bomb. Takaba with the phone. Oh my god. And the eye. Oh, the eye being where the bomb is flying and then cutting to Yuji with the blood on his hands. And then the gears, the cog. And then frickin' Freaking Kenjaku. That is so crazy. That is so wild. Oh my god. So glad I can finally see the OP. That's great. That's great. So I loved this season finale, even though I have been panicking about Yuta throughout all of it. It was incredible. The cinema, the animation, everything. And I love that it has led us to so many questions about what's going to happen next. What are we going to get? What are we going to theorize about? My plan after this week is that I'm going to be looking at volume 12 in the month of April of Jujutsu Kaisen on my Patreon. So for $1, you can see that volume with me. You can actually, I've been reviewing all of the volumes. I've been reacting to all the volumes in the manga and talking about them. It's just $1 to go check it out for a month. It's $1. It's so easy. But you can go check that out. It's going to come out sometime in April. And then my plan on Patreon is to be each month, try to go through a volume of the manga. And I've heard rumors that season 3 part 2 or season 4, whatever they want to call it, is going to come out in winter of 27. So like January or something. That time frame would seem about right. So I will have April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. I have nine months, 9 curse moves, plus Yuji, 9 months. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I don't know if volume 20 goes up to where we are now, but if I get to a stopping point with the manga where it catches up, then I'll just wait until season 3, part 2, season 4 comes out. So that's the plan. But for the next 9 months, we are going to be revisiting Jujutsu Kaisen on Patreon. So if you got $1 to spare, you can join us. And we also have a Discord that $1 gives you access to, where we can talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, just, spoiler tag, spoiler stuff for me. But I'm really excited about that. So thank you so much for joining me on my journey. I'll probably make a compilation for the YouTube post and Patreon of all my cosplays for this first part. I've had so much fun. I love cosplaying for Jujutsu Kaisen. I have so much fun talking about it. It gives me such an energy. And while I am very sad that I won't be able to discuss it with you all week to week for a little while now, 9 months is a lot better than 3 years. So I can do that. So we are going to be talking more about Jujutsu Kaisen on Patreon. Go check it out. But if you're not able to, then please give a like to this video. Please comment down below. And I would be happy to talk about your comments later on in the series when we get back to it. So in any case, I hope you all have enjoyed these reactions and discussions. Thank you for joining me on my 2-hour ramble that I've given with you all. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I will be back very soon to talk more about Jujutsu Kaisen. And I'll see you then. Bye.